Hello, everyone. Hello. Welcome. I hope everybody had a great weekend. For those of you who celebrate Easter, I hope you had a great Easter holiday. For those of you who are music lovers, artists like myself, I know that we had a ball on Sunday watching the verses of Earth, Wind, and Fire in the Isleys, honey. First, I want to say once again hello to everyone. Hey, Alicia, how's it going, my love? Who's that? Crestus? Darlene is here as always. Shout out to Darlene. I love you, Darlene. Layla, hey, Layla, how's it going? Jana's here as well. Wow, everybody's falling in. So this is my, just to give you a heads up, because I don't want to keep you long, but this is my recap of the last 7 days of the Derek Chauvin trial. It's Tuesday now, so this has been going on since last Monday, I believe. And it's been a lot. This has been a lot. We're also going to get into the issues going on in Georgia right now. Well, the backlash, because I don't want to call it an issue, the backlash from that horrendous Georgia voting bill that was passed. Now they're hitting them in the pocket. And also, too, I want to touch on Matt Gaetz a little bit, which I think this is busy. That story is a lot. For those of you tuning in, some of you are commenting in the comment section already. I did get my septum pierced over the weekend. It was a slight pinch. It was only 2 minutes and it was over. So, yes, I did get my septum pierced. But I want to kind of get started. So, we met last week, and of course, I went over day one. Day one was a lot. Day one was where we saw the 911 dispatcher who dispatched the call. We also saw one of the cashiers that worked at the Speedway, like kind of convenience store, like kind of like, gas station mini mart across the street from the location where George Floyd lost his life that day. But we've heard from a lot of people so far that we haven't really discussed. Now, here's the thing. I want to start with the defense attorney. First off, I want to start with the defense attorney because I feel like, Johnny Cochran kind of made it cool to be like the defense attorney for, the person that, killed the victim or what have you. This is not a Johnny Cochran instance, okay? Nothing about this is cool. I know everybody needs a lawyer. But why in the hell would you choose to be the defense lawyer in this goddamn case? I think maybe the police, I gotta see if the police union is paying for Derek Chauvin's defense. I don't think they are, but I gotta see if it's some kind of backdoor channels. Thank you, Yamik. I gotta see if it's some kind of backdoor channels because I know Derek Chauvin ain't got that much goddamn money. Number one, here's the thing, the psychology of a career, and I'm not an attorney, and I know it's an attorney's job to represent everyone, right? But you have the entire country, you have the world looking at you, and a lot of the people who are watching this trial see sleazebag. That's what you're given. Because even the whole angle, the lack of acknowledgement that someone lost their life. And I get it, that's his job. But you look like a sleazeball. I mean, and the thing is, it doesn't help that almost all of the witnesses last week in week one, every time, even some of the paramedic personnel that testified, they all looked at that defense attorney like he was an ass. And it's just like some cases you just don't want to take. I mean, lawyers may say differently, but as a human being and how I operate as a person, I just wouldn't have took this case. That's just the bottom line. Now, they had the young man testify. It's quite a few people who testify, but they had, I'm only going to touch on a few because that would be all day. But they had the young man who is 18 years old, somewhere around there, 18, 19, who was the cashier who got the $20 counterfeit bill from George Floyd. First, I want to commend this young man because he stood tall and he did an excellent job. He took his time. And what I like, one thing that I like about the people that have taken a stand from the city of Minneapolis, sorry if I butchered your city's name, is that they have no fear. They are standing tall. They don't appear to be intimidated by the defense. They make the defense repeat themselves several times. They make sure that the question that they are answering is what they recollect. And I love that. And so they examine the young man who took the $20 bill. And what was so I think such a testament to the character of how everybody knew George Floyd was that the young man said he was willing to go ahead and cover the counterfeit 20. He said that he could tell that George Floyd wasn't like, this malicious person and this aggressive, unstoppable person. Hell, he said that he don't even think that George Floyd knew that the bill was counterfeit. Okay? The fact that George Floyd and his friend, who we going to get to in a minute, because today that was busy, but I don't blame him, but we going to get to that. That they sat outside of the store after the whole incident. Like, I feel like if I know that I passed some fake-ass money or I did some shit that's incriminating, I'm not going to sit there no matter how many drugs I'm on. Because honestly, we know that the drugs were found in George Floyd's system, but that's of no consequence. And honestly, he wasn't that damn inebriated that he didn't know what the hell was going on. Okay? So cut the shit. I'm annoyed. And this is the thing. And if you're a young person watching this right now, understand that little convenience store job that you're working, that fast food job that you're working is not worth your life or putting yourself in danger. When I saw what happened, how the manager, who has a gun, who keeps a gun, made the young man, the younger kids that work at the store, go out to confront George Floyd about the bill and get the money back and all that stuff. First of all, that's not their job. Okay? Second of all, $20, because let's think about it. Even though George Floyd was compliant, he was cool, he didn't get aggressive or try to attack or get violent or anything like that. Suppose that situation had went left. Okay? Suppose that situation had went left. You got them kids out there in danger over $20 goddamn dollars. That's my first thing with that. So that store owner, I got questions for you. So to my kids, yes, you should value your job and working, but no job is worth your fucking life or your safety. That man don't care about you. These people don't care about you because guess what? When your parents on TV crying, that organization will still be running and there will be somebody else saying, how may I help you, bitch? And that's facts. Okay? But I think he did a great job, and I think he laid out that basically what I got from this young man's testimony was that none of this was really that deep. Okay? He told the store manager, some people were upset, well, why did he tell the store manager? Well, if you've ever worked in any type of retail job, cashiering job, fast food, whenever you get a possible counterfeit bill or anything like that, you do report it to your manager because that man was taking that out of their check. That's the bottom line. So we got to remember, and here's something that I want to express and I want to stress to any person who is not black. I'm not going to say people of color because there are some people of color who do not care for the well-being of black people. Let's just keep that real time, for the one time, okay? But we have to stress that we have a tendency to take the humanity away from our black children and our black boys. I read some of the comments online when that young man was testifying, and they're like, he should have did this. But because he looks a little older, you forgot that this is a 19-year-old child that you're talking to. Yeah, he's legal, but he's a child. It's just like when people talk about Fred Hampton. They forget Fred Hampton was very young when he died. We have a tendency that once our boys get of a certain age or get of a certain look, that we automatically throw them in this pit with grown-ass men. And that's not fair. Our children don't get to be children or to get to be young, dumb, and make mistakes. It's like once they turn 18 or once they get of a certain size, they're grown and they should know everything at that point. And I don't think that that's fair. So I wanted to touch on that. But outside of that, I think that he did a fantastic job. And he's to be commended for standing tall and taking his time. Okay? Now, the testimony that broke my heart. This is where I had to take a break. I had to take a break. Because I had, for those of you who follow me online on social media here, you know that I pretty much watch almost every day. But I happened to miss this testimony live, but I rewatched it on the playback because I recorded on my DVR. Charles McMillan, one of the witnesses who he just bust out crying. And for me, whenever I see grown men cry like that, especially our elders, it just bothers me in a way. It bothers me in a way that I can't explain. And his testimony when he talked about how he felt guilty, and that's another thing too. From the 911 dispatcher to the kid that worked in the store to Charles McMillan, everybody feels more guilty for George Floyd's death than the motherfucker that actually killed him. And that is a referendum on the police and a referendum on this trial. How is it that the 911 dispatcher, who did her job, who said, hey, something not right with this footage, they've been on this man for a while, she feel guilty. She got some guilt. How is it that the boy who said he'll cover the $20 bill but had to do his job, how is it that he said it, how is it he feels guilty? How is it that Charles McMillan feels guilty and the person that actually killed the man is chilling? But that guilt that you're seeing from a lot of these people, especially the black people, I think it's more so them being upset that they realize that at that moment they couldn't help him. And I think that's why Charles McMillan was crying, because part of that was madness. It was anger. Because here we are in 2021, and we still, and the thing is, what I think probably played in some of these folks' minds, especially the younger ones, is that we watch these civil rights specials on TV and these civil rights movies on TV and see all of these things that happen in years past. And we'd be like, oh, all them black people around, how they let it happen? How did slavery happen? How did this happen? We got to see on national TV and recorded video in real time how that happened. That was one incident. George Floyd was one incident, and them people was helpless. Because them cops had guns. Magnify that times 100. Now we know how slavery lasted so long. Now we know how people continued to get killed in the civil rights movement and why it took so long for things to happen and things to change somewhat. So when you see that man crying, when you see that young boy say he feels guilty, part of that is anger. Part of that is anger, people. Now, another testimony. They had the girlfriend testify. Courtney Ross. Okay, I'm gonna keep it real, and I talk to one of my faves, my homegirl, my ace, Erica, all the time. We kind of had this conversation. We always have our back channel conversations that I don't talk about on here. But one thing I'm going to bring up is this, and I'm gonna keep it 100. Especially if you live in the inner city or any, low income area, right? And not to say that it's always like this. I don't want to generalize because I don't want people coming at me in the comments. But we all know our friendly neighborhood, harmless drug addict. We all know him. He'll wash your car. He gonna ask you for a couple dollars. He'll carry your bags. He out in front of the cut rate. Ain't bothering nobody. Harmless. We know he get high. Okay. We know that, him and his girlfriend get high. We know this, but it's relatively harmless. And I think what you saw in the testimonies from the people who were familiar with George or were around, they know this. Okay? But see, here's the thing. This is where not knowing your demo, and this is where sending police officers who were not fixtures or familiar with the community, this is where community policing comes into play. And when I say community policing, I'm not talking about the community policing the police. I'm talking about the police knowing the community. That's something that's lost. Because, see, this community knew George. They understood him. They knew where it was going. But when you place officers, and I don't know, maybe Derek Chauvin was of the community, but he didn't take the time to understand the nuances. This is why you need officers who know the terrain, know the area. Okay? Because I guarantee you, if that was an officer that knew that area, George, why you get it? This is how that would have went. I've seen this happen with certain police officers. I've seen it happen. This is how this should have went. George, did you get him a fake $20 bill? I didn't know it was a fake $20 bill, man. All right, George. You need $20. All right, George, take the stuff back. Here, just take the $20. Here, I got 20. Here, give him $20. George, you can't be giving out counterfeit money. I know, I understand. All right, George, go ahead, go home. That's how that should have went. That's how that should have went. We've seen that. That is how that should have went. But instead, it was taken to the extreme because I guess there was nothing else going on in the city at that time to a level that it didn't need to go. It didn't need to make it that far. So they have the girlfriend take the stand. Okay. And here's where I want to make this point. And I want to say this, and I'm going to be very careful on how I say this. For as much as we talk about drug addicts, up until that point when the girlfriend testified, and not that it matters, but it does. Because people base things off of perception. I find it interesting that the drug addict was one of the only people that came dressed for court. Up until that point. I thought that was interesting. I thought that was very interesting. And when I saw her, there's a section, that area reminds me here in Baltimore of like South Baltimore, like Brooklyn, Cherry Hill, Westport. Like it reminds me of that area. Not to generalize the area, but when I see this area, when I see these people, I know these people. You know what I'm saying? Like I know these people. I know George Floyd's girlfriend. And when she was describing how she met George, I could see it. She kept crying a lot, which was sad. You know, it was very sad watching that. And it also shows, how can I put this? That how in this area, what is interesting is that they've interviewed, they've cross-examined and examined people of different racial backgrounds, people of different ethnic backgrounds. And it shows how sometimes it's a class issue and not a race issue. And it was kind of brave of her to testify because, and not to make it about her because I'm totally not doing that, but to say to come on national television, global television, and admit that you're a fucking junkie or drug addict rather, and have to talk through that, where you and George got y'all drugs, how y'all met. That's a lot. Because that changes your life. Hopefully she will, try to do better and get the help that she needs and continue on her road to recovery or wherever she is in that space. But it takes a lot to get in front of the world and say, I'm on drugs. But I'm going to testify today because I don't feel like this was right. And what I don't like that the defense is doing is it feels like everybody's on trial but Derek Chauvin. And I know that part of that is the defense's job, but whether that lady's a drug addict or not, that's of no consequence. She was not there that day. She was in love with a man. It just so happened that she was in love with a man who was addicted, and she was as well. Just because you're addicted doesn't mean that you're deprived of love, or that you don't deserve it, or that you don't deserve that special someone. Y'all may not be healthy for each other, but you deserve that too. So her being addicted to drugs is of no consequence. George Floyd being addicted to drugs is of no consequence, even though they're trying to bring that into the picture. So just to bring you up to speed a little bit, the angle now that they're trying to play is that by George Floyd, having drugs in the sense of fentanyl or what have you, that the death wasn't really from the knee. It was because he was incapacitated. Once again, I'm from Baltimore City. I have seen drug addicts shoot up, lean all the way to the ground. Their chin, this is the curb. My hand is the curb, and this is their body. They'll get down to here, bitch, and then jump back up. Look, that man didn't die from no goddamn drug overdose or drug complications. He died because you had your knee on his neck for 9 minutes, over 9 minutes. Okay? And what I don't like is that they're questioning people's intelligence in this trial. They're questioning the intelligence of the witnesses, but the witnesses are standing firm. That paramedic, one of the paramedics tried to cop a plea, but that other one, he gave that defense attorney the fucking side eye of life, bitch. Okay? So basically where they're at now is now they're trying to, like, the last 2 days of the trial have essentially been talking about Derek Chauvin's training. Was he trained correctly? And basically, most of the police officers is like, hell no, we don't teach them to put knees on necks. The goddamn police sergeant from the LAPD was like, hell motherfucking no. The chief of police was like, hell motherfucking no. I'm gonna keep this short and sweet. Basically, everybody was like, hell fucking no. We don't train nobody to keep knees on necks, bitch. You had a paramedic or off-duty paramedic, I believe she was a paramedic or nurse, who was begging them to check their pulse when this was all going on. Okay? No, like, that's the thing. They're trying to make people feel like they stupid. Like we don't see the footage. You know? So that's been interesting to see. Also, interesting to note, the ratings for this trial have been through the roof, allegedly, according to news reports. Some of the news outlets like CNN, MSNBC, they're actually reporting record ratings or higher ratings in the daytime than with their primetime programming. So that means Anderson, Dawn, by the time we get to y'all, we tired because people watching this trial all day. So that's interesting to believe. Now, one thing that happened today, to see rather, one thing that happened today was Morris Hall. He was in the car with George Floyd. Now, word on the street is he's the one that sells Floyd the drugs, and they was doing drugs together or whatever. He pleaded the fifth today. Or he tried to. Basically because he doesn't want to be incriminated. He doesn't want to give a testimony that will incriminate himself. Based on, what was going on. And, they could come and try to get him. So he's like, hey, I'm pleading the fifth on all this shit. Which I feel two ways about it. Part of it is unfortunate because he will probably give some great context for the prosecution, I think. But also, too, I feel him because, see, this is what will happen in America. He'll testify. Derek Chauvin will end up getting off. And then they'll prosecute him. And he'll end up getting hella time. For a crime that he didn't even commit. So, I get why he didn't do it. Some people was making the comments, oh, he joining via satellite because he in jail. I mean, yeah, he's in jail. Okay? We're not saying that these folks are like, model citizens, whatever that is. Okay? But the fact that he's in jail for an unrelated offense ain't got shit to do with this knee in this man's neck. Let's make this clear. That ain't got shit to do with the knee in his neck. His girlfriend being a drug addict ain't got shit to do with the knee in the neck. The boy who got the $20 bill, he didn't make the officer put the knee in his neck. Nobody made this officer put his knee in George Floyd's neck but that officer. So as far as I'm concerned, all of that shit is irrelevant. Okay? So, let's cut the shit with that. And so now we're at this stage where, I ain't gonna lie, when he was pleading the fifth, and that was probably one of the best public defenders I ever seen in my life, but I think she was only a good public defender because her ass was on national TV, and she like, bitch, you gotta sell this. But, I do think that, today reminded me of Matlock. This whole trial has been like, TV, like it's been a lot. It's been very sensational. But that's pretty much where we're at. So we're in this phase now where they're going over all of Derek Chauvin's training, where was he trained? Everybody's saying no. HR gonna be like, hell, motherfucking no, we ain't got shit to do with this. We did not train this motherfucker be doing this, right? So that's where we at with that. I'll be joining you at the top of next week with an update on the trial. But that's where we are right now. So, back to Georgia. Georgia. So, we know that Georgia passed that ridiculous and erroneous voting law. And they've since face some corporate backlash. Now, here's the thing. You know how you get politicians is you hit them in the pocket. Campaign dollars, fundraising, shit like that, that matters to them. So, Major League Baseball pulled the All-Star game out of Atlanta. Okay. Out of Atlanta. And they said, bitch, we're going to go to Denver. You have these other companies saying, look, sis, like, Now, one of the reports I read, Delta was kind of kind of maintaining a stronghold on it. Like, this is whatever. Delta kind of in a tricky position because they got a hub in Atlanta, so they like, bitch, we ain't gonna throw in the towel just yet, but it ain't looking pretty. And now you have the Mitch McConnells of the world saying that it's cancel culture. The governor kept saying, "Oh, this is cancel culture," and like, you trying to prevent people from having access to vote. Like, voting should not be hard, and I think it's very interesting that Major League Baseball moved the All-Star game to Denver, where Denver has like one of the highest mail-in voting system. Like, a lot of people in Denver vote by mail. You can do same-day registration, voter registration in Denver. So I also think it's kind of like funny that they took the game to a city that is known for voter accessibility. So that's a shade in itself, Major League Baseball. And I think that it's warranted. I think that, here's the thing. A lot of these politicians, and especially these career politicians, right? They are so used to things being a certain way. They're so used to the people. I think what they haven't realized yet, or what they're starting to realize, is that the people have found their voice again. Okay? Like, people aren't going to be like, I guess that's just the way it is. No! People are getting out in the streets. They're showing up at your home. They're coming to your offices. One of the, as much as y'all love Trump on that side of the fence, one thing that he did was he galvanized the anti-movement to him. So all of this sneaking in the middle of the night, passing bills without consequences shit, that shit is dead. It's over. You have to answer for that now. It's no more, people just forget it. The thing is, what they don't realize, and this happens in every republic, every empire, is that once you stop giving the people food and entertainment and distractions, they start paying attention. When this COVID shit hit, motherfuckers felt that shit in their pocket. You got people out here doing bad. They bad off. They starving. They paying attention now. That's why your state turned blue. There's no distractions anymore. People are feeling that what the government doesn't understand is that one of the great magic tricks that successful governments do, and this is just my opinion, is they make people believe that they don't really exist to a certain degree. Or the everyday person doesn't immediately feel the effects of what that government did. It's just like with that 93 crime bill, we noticed it, but the effects of it, people didn't really start talking about that shit like that until later. What you have now is that these politicians are doing very reactionary things, and it's causing the everyday citizen to feel it immediately. People are seeing the effects of COVID in their everyday life. They're seeing the effects of these voter restrictions when they have to go wait in line, when they have to stand in line for hours. When people start seeing it on that level, when the everyday citizen who has no idea how government works starts feeling the effects of government policy, and they feel it this acutely and this immediately, that's when you start having strong resistance. Okay? And that's when it becomes a problem. So now you're in a can of worms. I hate to tell you, Georgia, but the state that you knew in 1993 isn't a state that exists right now. You have a plethora of black successful people, studio owners. Hollywood's coming there. That's Hollywood East as far as I'm concerned. You got all of this stuff going on, and you can't do this shit no more without consequence. And they hitting you in the pockets now. Okay? So that's where you're at now with Miss Georgia. Georgia. That's where they at. Now, one last thing I want to touch on before I get out of here, because the WWE Hall of Fame ceremony comes on tonight, and you know, one thing that I want to touch on is Representative Matt Gaetz. Guess where Matt Gaetz is from, guys? Drum roll, please. Florida! Of course he's from Florida. It's like the Florida politicians are just fucking nuts. They're sex crazed nuts. I don't know what's going on with Florida. Like, they're nuts. They all are sex crazed nuts. Okay? So Matt Gaetz, who is a staunch Trump supporter, he's in hot water right now because he has allegations that he had sex with a minor. And he paid for sex with women of legal age. He's also implicated in this sex trafficking ring, right? So he in hot water right now, okay? The Republicans ain't touching him with a 10-foot pole because shit must be real. And when, Trump is saying, bitch, should I support him? Should I talk about him? That means that the allegations are very, very true. I find it is also interesting with Matt Gaetz that he was against the revenge porn bill, where you can, if you show pictures of an ex in a compromising situation, that's against the law, XYZ. He was against that. And he was probably against it because word on the street is he would be out on Congress floor on the floor showing people pictures of women that he hit. So, with this one, it's interesting because I think he's getting ready to go down. It's going down, Basement, Friday the 13th, guess who's playing Jason? He's going down. And I just think it is interesting that this is why you don't get your pom-poms out for other people. And yes, somebody said he paid with Apple Pay and Cash App and shit. Like, what the fuck? Come on, paper trail. You're supposed to go to the ATM or have your assistant get some money out for you. You paying cash when you doing the nefarious ass shit like that. You don't send no motherfucking body a Cash App or a Venmo request, bitch. What the fuck is wrong with you? But anyway, he's in hot water. I just wanted to touch on that. That's ridiculous. But that's pretty much where we at. As always, thank you for tuning in. You can find me online, social media at Dapper Dan Midas. If you want to contribute to the channel, you can always do that via Cash App or Venmo at Dapper Dan Midas or $ Dapper Dan Midas. You know how the shit works. I'll be meeting with you all next week. I am going to be going on a slight vacation, but I'll still be checking in with you weekly. But I will see you all next week. We will continue to monitor this trial. I will be watching every day as I have been. As always, I love you all dearly. I thank you for your support and for constantly viewing and tuning in. It is not, unnoticed. But on that note, I want you all to have a great evening. Be blessed. Peace and love.